Strum GS2 really comes to life when we start working in guitar mode. Now here, the range of the MIDI keyboard is divided into two sections. We have the chord keys section over here, which corresponds to what the left hand of a guitar player would be doing, the fretting notes that he's holding down to create the chords. And then we have the strumming keys section over here, which are trigger notes that trigger what a guitar player does with their right hand, their picking hand, meaning how they attack the note. Is it an upstroke, a downstroke, a palm mute, a single note, etc.? So we play the chords here and we trigger the way they're articulated here, and it's also repeated 3 octaves below middle C down here. So the way it works is that Strum will detect the chord that you play in the chord section, and it'll find a corresponding voicing as soon as there's 3 or more notes that are played down together. And that allows us to play regular keyboard voicings that we know and use as keyboard players, and the voicings that'll be created are based on the settings in the voicing module, and we'll talk about all these separately. But let's say I want to play C major 7 chord, I could just play a root position C major 7 chord, and it's automatically going to be voiced for me. Here's maybe an A flat 13, or maybe an A minor major 7, or a diminished 7th chord. Now I'm choosing those unusual voicings just to indicate that regular keyboard voicings are detected properly. However, Strum also has a great feature for automatic chord creation, where you don't need to play down all the notes of the chord in order to trigger the basic qualities of chords. Now, for example, if you hit a single note, that means a major chord will be played. For example, here's an E. You can see here that I'm hitting a single note, and yet a whole chord is getting voiced. And if we hit the root note that we want the chord to be, plus the first black key to the left, we're going to get a minor chord. So if I hit this E with an E flat, I get an E minor chord. Or let's say C with a B flat, I get a C minor chord because it's the first black note below it. Now to get a 7th chord, we hit the root note and the first white key to the left. So for example, I can hit C and B natural for a C7, or D and C natural for a D7. Of course, I can also just spell it out the normal way that I would as a keyboard player. And for minor 7th chords, the shortcut or the chord code or the automatic chord combination, whatever you want to call it, is the root note with the first black key and the first white key below it. So for D minor 7, I would hit, let's say, D, C sharp, and C. So those are the special codes to get automatic chords created. Now, the reason we're hearing all the chords as I hit the keyboard is because we have auto strum mode on. When this is off, when I hit notes or chords, we don't hear anything, and that's because we need to trigger the strumming keys in order to trigger a picking articulation, for example, an upstroke or a downstroke. And we'll go over all those strumming keys separately, but for now, I just wanted to show you how these chord codes work. So I'm going to put auto strumming mode on, meaning when we hit the notes, we hear it automatically. Now the speed knob determines how quickly the strum happens. When it's all the way counterclockwise, we get a nice wide strum. So I'll hit 1 note, for example. And when it's all the way up, we're going to get all the notes closer together. Versus this. Slightly wider apart. Now we can also have velocity influence the speed. Now at this all the way counterclockwise, the speed of the strumming is going to be determined solely by this knob. So if I hit quieter or louder, I get the same kind of quality of spread. Now as I dial this up, it's going to be influenced by velocity. So if I hit quieter, I get them wider apart, meaning this value. And when I hit harder, they're going to get closer together. So nice and wide, and now closer. So that's an interesting way of using auto strumming. So I'm going to play you a little thing I've put together here. Here are my trigger notes and the chord symbols. I have just an E, that gives me an E chord, an A and a G for an A7, D with the white note below for the D7, etc. And I've got a little accompaniment in there, just strumming on the downbeats in auto strum mode, just to give you an idea of what it can do with an electric guitar sound. Let's do a quick little recap of what we've covered. So the range of the MIDI keyboard is divided into the chord key section, which corresponds to the left hand of a guitar, and the strumming keys section, which is like the right hand that triggers the articulations. And as soon as we play 3 or more notes, a chord will be detected by Strum, and the voicings that are used are based on the settings in the voicing module, which we'll look at separately. And we also have auto strum mode, and when that's on, strumming is triggered as soon as the notes or chords are held down in the chord key section. And auto strum always plays a downstroke, meaning the notes are played from the lowest to the highest, and they're spread apart based on the speed and or velocity knobs in the auto strum section. And the strumming keys can also still be used when auto strum is on, optionally. So chords are detected when we play 3 or more notes, or these specific little note combinations. A single note will trigger a major chord. A single note in the first black key to the left will trigger a minor chord. The first white key to the left triggers a dominant 7th chord, and the first black and white key together to the left trigger a minor 7th chord. See you for more in the next video.